Good evening and welcome to In Focus, the monthly live panel discussion brought to you by the Barbados Government Information Service. I am your host, Sharifa Medford-Gilkes. Tonight's topic is significant to nearly every Barbadian, regardless of age or income: housing. Whether you are a young professional hoping to purchase your first home, a family searching for an affordable rental, or a homeowner looking to expand your property portfolio, the conversation around housing has become increasingly important. Many Barbadians have expressed concern about the rising cost of land, housing construction, and rental properties. At the same time, there are questions about whether enough affordable housing options exist to meet the needs of low and middle income earners, and what can be done to improve access to suitable housing across the island. Joining us for this important discussion are the Honorable Christopher Gibbs, Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, Gill, General Manager of the National Housing Corporation, and Benjamin Niles, Managing Director of Apex Construction. As always, this is your program too, so we invite you to submit your questions and comments throughout the discussion via the BGIS Facebook page and YouTube channel, and we will respond to as many as possible. So let's get right into the discussion. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us here tonight. Minister, I'm going to throw the first question to you.
Yes, please.
Affordable housing is a concern for several Barbadians. We hear a lot of Barbadians talking about it. In your capacity, what is the current state of affordable housing in Barbados, especially for low and middle income earners?
Sharifa, this is a very, very important question. And the fact is that when I took over the portfolio of Minister of Housing, one of the first things that I did, and the General Manager can attest to this, is that we try to examine what do our clients want. So we have a database of about 6,000 odd people who have applications in the National Housing Corporation. And we have another 3,000 or so in Hope. So we engage in an exercise where we looked at all the information that we gathered. And what you said is true. A lot of people are looking for housing, and about 58% to 60% of those individuals, those applicants, are looking for affordable homes. And that price range is around 150 to 250, 100,000 Bajan.
Oh, okay.
So now that we have the data to back this up, so we have to make sure that any new developments that we go into, that target market is satisfied. So the ministry, through NHC and Hope, we are engaging in a tripartite joint venture program where we have the lands. We have state lands, we have NHC has lands. Right now we're engaging in the process of identifying where all our lands are that are available for housing. Now we know that Barbados is a small island, and land, like water, is a scarce resource. So we have to look at innovative ways going about this. So what does that mean? We have to look at technology. So we've been engaging in finding partners who can deploy technologies that not only we can deliver affordable homes, that we can do it at speed. Because the truth of the matter is, my boss wants things done right away. We cannot wait to deliver these solutions to Barbadians. The truth is that, this is our third term, third 30 love. So I'm a man that likes to watch Spider-Man, and with great power comes great responsibility. So this term, third term, is about empowering Barbadians, especially young Barbadians. I know that it can be pretty frustrating for young Barbadians looking at the prices of homes, and you go to university, it's very apt that we're here at the UE campus, and I know a lot of UE students are watching as well, and I know that it can become very frustrating when you look at the prospects of trying to go and house shopping. Even the rents, as you just suggested, are high. And I want to tell you, Sharifa, that is another part of our mandate, is to look at the rising rents as well, because I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to tell the viewers at home, that a lot of landlords are charging top dollar for rents for houses that really ain't worth it. And the truth of the matter is that we are currently engaging and looking at standards. That initiative is being led by the Ministry of Transport and Works in collaboration with us as well. So we're going to be looking at that intently. We know that demand is only going to go up. We're currently having a construction boom in the country. And I know that people have seen a lot of workers coming in and they're looking for housing as well, which only frustrates the process even more. So these issues are squarely in my vision. And I can guarantee the public that the ministry is working hard to be able to facilitate those people who are looking for housing in that range, that we call it the sweet spot. In addition to that, Sharifa, it would be remiss of me if I did not mention that the ministry will also be working with the Ministry of People Empowerment to be able to make sure that those most vulnerable in the communities also will have access to housing as well. What we're going to have to do is obviously hold their hand a little bit more, offer subsidies. I'm talking about people with persons with disabilities. We have to make sure that the most vulnerable in our society are also catered to. So people ask me all the time, you got a big ministry, it's a very important ministry, and I concur, it's very important to our society, but the way I view it is that it's exciting for me to be able to craft solutions, look at solutions for our people, how I can offer people a home. To me, the most satisfying thing about this job is giving someone a key to their house. And that is what will fuel me going forward. We also have a good team. I think that what we need to do is just focus on the task at hand, and I'm sure that we can be successful.
Okay, we're going to get further into the current housing projects going on. But before we get there, Mr. Gill, thank you for being here with us. Mm-hmm. What are some of the most common concerns the National Housing Corporation hears from Barbadians who are seeking affordable housing?
Well, as the minister said, affordability is one of them. And one, you mentioned that we are in a phase where we're looking at middle income housing, but there are those persons who are unable to afford middle income, they're unable to afford a mortgage. Their capacity, we do it in ranges of like between $1,000 and $2,500 a month, then from $2,500 to $4,000, then over $4,000. So we have ranges that we work with. Where this is concerned, when people speak about affordable housing, it is not for just those in the middle class, but those who are incapable of earning a mortgage, of getting a mortgage. For those persons, let's go into the market, and we can say those persons who work at gas stations, etc. We still want to be able to afford that. They have families, they have concerns, they want to own housing too. And we have seriously looked at that at the National Housing Corporation. We have prepared, we know there's rent to own, but we've gone through rent to own over a few years, and rent to own while people are living, it is not working. Rent to own does not offer them the chance of owning that property. That remains government property until 7 to 10 years, but we've recognized too, at the end of 7 to 10 years, while some family can graduate, some others still can't graduate at that stage. So we've come up with a new policy, and it will be unleashed to the nation in a few weeks. And I like to use the word unleashed because it will be one that will bring great happiness to Barbadians. It's called the Social Mortgage Initiative. Well, it's an initiative right now, but we believe once it's gone through cabinet, it will become the Social Mortgage Program. Therefore, we will have a situation where Barbadians know will be able to own that house on the signing of the dotted line while paying an amount that is similar to rent. You will no longer have to come to National and say that something is happening and I need to use this as collateral, and then the general manager or some person has to sign off to show that you can use this house as collateral. This house will be yours from the inception. And I know that Barbadians will love that. And that concept has come out of the ministry and the National Housing Corporation, and we are looking forward to unleashing it on the Barbadian public shortly.
I'm sure Barbadians are very pleased to hear about that as well. Mr. Niles, thank you also for joining us here tonight. From your perspective on the ground, what are some of the major factors driving up costs in the construction?
Right, okay. Inflation is a very real matter, as you know. There are only two things that are part of the construction process that are actually here locally, which is marl and stone. Cement, steel, lumber, you name it, tiles, paint, these things all have to come in. And therefore, we are constrained or whatever by how those prices are on the international market. And therefore, construction feels the reaction or the shocks that prevail on the marketplace immediately as it happens. So we would give a price for a contract, and generally that price would be good for a year. It is not likely it would remain after a year, generally speaking.
Okay, thank you for that. So does this also affect then the projects within the National Housing Corporation as well?
Yes, it would. The cost is continuously increase in the market. As it says, everything most of it must be imported. And that is a lot of foreign exchange going out of the country. But at the same time, government's commitment is to providing housing to Barbadians at affordable cost. The minister spoke about technology. And one thing the ministry and NHC is doing is looking for new technologies. New technologies does three things basically. It reduces the construction costs, it reduces the cost of labor, and it reduces material waste. And the reason for the material waste is that most persons who are now into new technologies have to set up, which is good for Barbados, they're now setting up what would be called industrial businesses here in Barbados. So you're doing new technology, you're bringing this to Barbados, your Barbadian artisans are now being able to have transfer of knowledge within that market, and that is going to increase significantly over the next few years, because what that does is bring affordability to the housing costs, because these new technologies are cheaper and easier to make and easier to construct. So therefore, the cost will come down, and it is our greatest hope that this cost will pass on to the Barbadian public.
Okay, thanks for that explanation. Minister, you would have alluded earlier to the rising costs in rent. I could understand based on what they both said about the construction of the homes, but what about those homes already existing, but the rental prices are still going up? What would contribute to that?
Well, it's an issue of supply and demand. So the demand right now is very great because, as I said before, we are encountering a construction boom, and we have a lot of individuals who are participating in that industry who are coming in and they are looking for rentals. In addition to that, we know that we have the advent of Airbnb, and regrettably, there are landlords who would prefer to put their rental property in Airbnb, even if it's just for 6 months, because those rates are very high and it's very lucrative. I know some people who are renting, have their rentals in Airbnb, and they would rather rent for 6 months, and then the other 6 months they would even let it sit down because there's tremendous profits there. But as I said before, people have to make sure, that landlords have to make sure that these rentals are up to standard. And that is where the government could come in now, because we can enforce those standards. So you can't expect to be charging high rents and then the properties are not being properly maintained. I can tell you that, Sharifa, it frustrates me as an MP in an urban constituency when I have a house fire. And I'm the Minister of Housing, so when I have a house fire, people look into me for a housing solution. But not all the time I can find a solution like that right off the bat. So I'm forced to go to look for rentals for people who are displaced. And it's very frustrating when you see some of these rental prices. I could tell you I had an instance where I had a family that was displaced, and I want to say that People Empowerment has done a really, really good job of helping us to find places for people, just on a whim. But in this particular instance with this family, they were unable to. A friend of mine knew someone that had a property, and I actually paid for the property out of pocket for the first month. It was real high, but I couldn't let those people just be out on the streets. And sometimes, as MPs, we're faced with that. We have to take action right off the bat. But I get frustrated by how high these prices are. So I could tell you, and obviously, you know, my constituency is Jamaica West, and I have a lot of low-income people that live there as constituents, and they come to me all the time asking me to find reasonable places for them. And I go and I look, and I'm the Minister of Housing, so no, I got to pull the houses out the pockets, right? But the truth is I'm Minister for Housing for everybody. So I have people calling me all the time. So I'm very, very aware. But I'm going to tell you, Sharifa, it starts with the standards. And that's where government can come in and say, no, enough is enough. But the truth of the matter is we're not going to get into any rent control.
I was not going to ask you that.
I know you was coming with that one. I know there have been some cities around the world. New York City is one where rent control has been employed. The problem with rent control is that it could have the opposite effect. Because when you interfere with the market like that, people would then say, all right, well, I won't build any more capacity. Mr. Niles, you could talk, you know this very well. And it could have the opposite effect. So the truth of the matter is, there's no magic bullet. I just got to build. And as the Prime Minister has said, through the Cabinet, the mandate for the Ministry of Housing, NHC, and HO is to build. And to build, as the General Manager said just now, with an industrial approach to building rather than an artisanal approach. But Sharifa, I know you're going to ask me this question next. We're not leaving out the small man, right? The truth of the matter is, it's through the National Housing Corporations, we have the housing estates, and we know we have our 60th anniversary, independence anniversary coming up, and we'll be looking to beautify the estates and also insert resilience into our estates so that when the hurricane season comes, we are ready. And there's plenty of work to go around for carpenters, plumbers, and all these professions. In fact, there is a skills deficit right now in the country. So the GM hit the nail on the head earlier, no pun intended, in that we have to make sure that when we have this technology coming into the country, that we bring on interns, we bring on UE students that have to give back hours to get, and we make sure that we can transfer this knowledge so that all of our citizens, young people who don't want to spend 5, 6, 7, 8 years in school, you can get a skill and make some money. The truth is that if you, I did a little experiment with ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT, what professions will be still around, right, in spite of you? And ChatGPT said, carpenters, plumbers, right? These kind of people, that masons that are on the ground. Those jobs will still be around. So I want to say that I know that the duty of my colleague, the Honorable Chad Blackman, and his colleague, they are engaging in educational transformation. And in that, embedded in that, is to make sure that we have the adequate skills to be able to protect our citizens from the upcoming AI invasion.
I understood. Before we go back to you, Mr. Gill, I was tapping back to you, Mr. Niles. We spoke earlier about the expensive materials and stuff. And Mr. Gill would have alluded to technology, using technology to help, reduce the cost.
Yeah.
What are some of the innovative techniques that you would have implemented into your business to help drive down costs for construction of these homes?
We haven't been able to do a lot in relation to introducing them, but I have certainly looked at them in trying to establish what direction we should go. So there's precast concrete, there is steel frame, which is fast but also very accurate. The workers have to be very accurate. With masonry and carpentry, the Barbadian worker, a 1/4 inch doesn't mean a lot to him. But with steel, if you out a 1/4 inch, it can't be used. So that is one. Then there's forms, where you pour concrete down the middle of the form. And we have to be very careful here, because every new technique is not suitable for a country that has hurricanes. And in the desire to provide housing, we have to bear that aspect in mind, because we can certainly provide cheap housing,
But you need to be safe.
but it needs to be structurally sound in order to make it viable for the country on the long run, on the long term. Because if somebody's going to invest and then after or within the first 10 years, it's going to either be eaten down or blown down, they have to start over. And then that wouldn't be wise.
Understood.
So we have to keep at it. There are, there are container homes out there being offered. These are fairly cheap. They come pretty much ready done, and they can be used as an option. But then you still have to see now if the steel is able to withstand our salt air. Because if they come from deep inland and they don't have that kind of problem, then they'll not be ready. So it's a lot of consideration in the factors driving it, trying to arrive at what is actually an appropriate solution.
And I want to add to that too, because what he's saying is quite correct. Not all new technologies will suit Barbados. We are a small island, 14 by 21, and in an instance where there's, for instance, steel, you never know. Steel, we always surrounded by sea spray. So it's things like these, he's hit the nail right on the head. Not all technologies will work, but we have to try them. We have to see that, because one or two may be well and affordable to us, and may offers the opportunity to offer poor persons in this country a good, comfortable living with them and their families. So we must try them. We must give people the opportunity to try them. And the ones that work, then we use the transfer of knowledge system to make sure that, and as the minister said, there are very few jobs that will be knocking around when AI takes over. And therefore, it means that we will be able to transfer knowledge for a long time to the masons, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and so on.
And Sharifa, I want to add to that, and it's a very important point, and Mr. Niles, excellent point. The truth is that since Melissa hit Jamaica, there are a lot of solutions that actually have been implemented in Jamaica. And a lot of them are surrounded around the Chinese expandable homes. They look really cool, they come two 20-foot expandable homes come in a 40-foot container. And when you see how it's set up, you literally fold it out.
But is it safe?
That is the point that Mr. Niles made. The truth is that I personally had a conversation with some of the Chinese manufacturers, and I asked them that question. First question I asked them, what is your hurricane rating? So the lady told me that they haven't really done a whole lot of testing on it as yet. So I said, give me a number. She said 74 miles an hour. We're so sure that really can't even come a hurricane down here. So the truth of the matter is the GM also made another point, just put the hurricane resilience to the side, is also our environment and the salt air. So when you fold out these homes, when you fold something, it has a mechanical moving part. How is that going to fare with the salt air? So the truth is that the ministry and NHC is going to become a bit of a lab. The truth is that we're going to bring in a couple of these solutions and test them, see how we can re-engineer and how we can make them more resilient to suit our climate. Mr. Niles made a really good point about container homes. So we're also going to be doing a couple container conversions, 40-foot conversions. We know that when you take the shipping container, that is a solid, thing. And that will naturally be more resilient if you can cut it properly and make sure that you seal and clad properly. So the truth is that, thankfully, they say God is a Bajan. We haven't, but then they say God was Jamaican too. And look at what happened. So thankfully, we haven't been hit with the big one. Like what Fred Sanford used to say, Sanford and Son, we haven't hit with the big one. But the truth is that, as the Prime Minister said, we are more susceptible to fires, to tell you the honest truth, which leads me to the mandate that we have is to increase the amount of emergency housing stock. And these types of solutions, Chinese expandable homes, container conversions, RUDC will play a role as well too, because they do an excellent job in building the 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom homes with speed, right, that are fairly resilient. We'll be engaging in all these partners to be able to up the stock of emergency housing so that we can address the threat of fires, so that we can address the threats of domestic violence in our communities, the most vulnerable people that you know, at the drop of a dime would need a house, you know, to stay in. So that's another part of our mandate as well, Sharifa.
Okay, thank you.
And know that we are talking resilience. I wouldn't want to go on because there's a program within the ministry and the NHC called the Strap It program. And this is where the DEM, the Department of Emergency, provides hurricane straps for houses across this country.
At what cost?
There's no cost.
Okay.
You call the DM, I believe, will send out a team to see what you need, and we'll make that provision for you. There's no cost. And what we need to do, because we need to make sure that we can, at a category 2 or 3, we can still keep a roof on a house. And government is committed to that.
Okay.
And we're spending, I know that we've gone over $1 million in preparing for that Strap It program. And it will continue because it's in the interest of the Prime Minister and in the government to make sure that we can, as vulnerable as houses are in this country, that we can try to help to keep them, to make sure a category 2 or 3 storm, they can still maintain their roofs.
Thank you for that information. I'm sure a lot of people did not know about that. Now you're watching In Focus as we examine the current state of housing in Barbados, and we have so many questions coming in from you, the audience, and we promise we'll be right back to answer as many of them as possible. So keep them coming, and see you soon. As we observe the multiple
Hi, I'm Kathy Ann Husband, Senior Information Officer at GIS. Where In Focus is concerned, I am responsible for confirming the panel for each episode, coordinating the very dedicated team that brings you In Focus every month. And I also, on the night of the production, I work along with Esther in monitoring the live streams on our platforms, Facebook and YouTube. We make sure that all of the persons who are inputting questions and queries adhere to the social media guidelines that we would have implemented and informed them of. And we input for them any information that they require. We search for it and we put it in the chat. And we make sure that the questions and comments that we vet goes by the producer to the host to deliver to the panel on set. Join us every month. We're sure to find some information that you need, a topical discussion. Join us here at JS for In Focus.
Yearly, the Caribbean faces the threat of storms, killer hurricanes, and other natural disasters. With the impact of climate change, the trend is predicted to increase. What would you do if Barbados were impacted by a hurricane? How would you survive?
Skip the line, stay inside, and pay the easy way online with the Pace Digital mobile app. Now you can pay for your renewed license, police certificate of character, and more via the EasyPay Plus platform with the Pace Digital mobile app. Log into EasyPay Plus, select the service, and confirm. Select the Pace Digital mobile app payment icon for your QR code. Open your Pace Digital mobile app and select the Pace Digital Pay tab. Scan the QR code and confirm your payment. Visit us online to learn more. Don't have the Pace Digital mobile app? Download it today.
Welcome to Just a Conversation, the podcast where we discuss the topics that matter to you.
From real stories to real talk, we dive into everything. No filters, no fluff.
We're talking about the issues you actually care about. Finance, mental health, sports, entertainment, and so much more.
It's not just talk. It's conversations that bring us together, challenge us, and keep it real.
Don't have time to watch? No problem.
Just turn on the video while you're cooking and we'll keep you company.
Listen on your morning commute, while you work out at the gym, or even when you get home on evenings and chilling out.
Wherever you are, however you listen, this is your space for real conversations.
Join us.
Join us.
Just a conversation.
Available on all streaming platforms or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media at GIS Barbados to share your thoughts or to stay connected.
Welcome back to In Focus. For those of you just joining us, we're discussing the current state of housing in Barbados. We've been having a very engaging discussion with our panel, so let's continue the conversation and hear more from our guests as we explore the challenges, opportunities, and possible solutions within the housing sector. Before we get into the many questions we have from the audience, I'm sure many of you also would like to hear about the current and upcoming projects that the National Housing Corporation through the Ministry of Housing will be undertaking.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We are currently, our current projects are, we are a joint venture program. Our joint venture program has taken us to Atlantic Breeze, where just over 200 houses, I think 150 houses and going on to 200 are about to be completed. I can tell you 150 for sure are completed. And that will be a 267 project. At Brighton, we have 42 houses being constructed, 10 are completed, and we're hoping that we can start to put families in them very shortly. The ministry, I should speak for, can I speak for Hope? At Concordia Gardens, we are building 86 Juravilla houses, and there are further 15 more that will be added there, along with the fact that there, at this present time, East West houses are to be built there, but that is another consideration as we look at steel frame houses and so on. The project, what we need to do at NHC is to be able to complete at least 1,000 houses per year, a minimum of 1,000. We will aim for 2 to get 1. So we have some major projects on board. Next month, you will see the opening of Vineyard, and at the end of that project, 1,500 houses minimum will be built.
Okay.
It's a massive project.
Yes, it is.
All right. You seem to want to stop. I just started. Also, we're going to be building at what is called a planning games. A planning games is a concept where the owner of lands offer that lands to government in order that they too can have another project somewhere. And we'll be going to Guinea to carry out a project at Guinea and St. John. We will also be going to Branch Berry in St. Joseph, where only today we were told that that will culminate in about 120 houses. So one of the things that the Prime Minister is interested in is in density, because we don't have that much land. So in areas where people love standalone houses, but a time will come that we will have to move away from standalone and move towards duplexes, to move towards quads. I think it's called hexagons. We have 6, but you have 3 and 3. So we are now moving towards that phase, and you will see more high rises. They wouldn't go over 3 floors, because we've, and I'll say this, we've had a situation where we have 5 and 6 story high rises, but we've not been dealt a good blow, or should I say we've been dealt a good blow because we've had to put elevators in them, and we always have to be repairing those elevators. So we're going to move to a phase, we want 3 floors, so you'll be able to walk up those 3 floors, because the cost of running elevators is escalating, and it's extremely high. And not that we're saying that everything is good about it, that we're hoping that we can solve the problem with it, and through education and training of the persons who are living in these properties right now. But at the same time, with what we're going through and the costs that we're going through, we think we prefer to stop at 3-story houses. But it is in the interest of government that we reach the task as close to 2,000 houses as possible per year. We're setting up the platform at this time. We're working on a weekly basis. The role of national housing has changed too, and I think I should say that at this time, yes. We are no longer government's contractor. We don't build anything for government anymore. Okay. We are now a planning agency where we will plan for not only national housing and for the ministry, but we will plan for other central government agencies and for other state-owned enterprises. That is the greatest hope of this government, that we take on the planning, and we deal on a day-to-day basis with the planning and development section. That is now in tow, and we are increasing that section. What else National has to do is that...
I know you can go on for the rest of the night about national housing and its mandate and its duties. However, I'm going to pause there for a minute, and we're going to take some questions from the audience.
That's not a problem.
Okay. Okay, so we have our first question from Kay. How many people are currently on the waiting list for NHC housing? I think you mentioned this earlier.
Yes, there are 6,100 persons on the list, and these persons all have brought in mortgages to us. There are 1,700 at Hope. There are others, but Hope would have deciphered and brought them. There's 1,700 persons who would have been approved for mortgages and so on. And so that is the entirety of what it is at this time, but 6,100 persons at the National Housing Corporation.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from, I'm not going to try to pronounce this properly, Abby Kunkinte. I am still trying to figure out why a precast house, or what you call a slab house, is costing Barbadians $300,000 plus.
Answer that one.
I see they're throwing it at you, Mr. Niles.
Answer that one.
Well, see, that's one of the reasons why I said that you can't assume that every technology is going to be cheaper. So precast has a lot of upfront costs for the kind of reinforcement that has to go into it. The engineering, it's not as straightforward as people might think. Just throw some concrete down and in a form and lift it up tomorrow. And yeah, it's not as straightforward as that. So that's the reason that it's still expensive.
Because we want to make sure it's sturdy and safe.
Correct. And then you have to use big cranes to lift it.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question is from Sammy. Why does the process between getting a mortgage and moving into the house take so long?
That's a very, very good question. And the truth of the matter is that Mr. Niles will tell you that when you are a builder engaging in a development, you rely on the mortgages to finance your phased approach to building. So another one of our mandates at the Ministry of Housing is to look at de-risking mortgages, looking at a way that we can reduce the mortgage time. And how do we do that? We do that by modernizing the land registry, right? Because we know that when we go into land registry, they still have these computer systems that are archaic. So we're going to engage on a modernization project there and go online, so that then that will speed up that part of the process. The financial institutions will also play a role in that. We're going to go to the financial institutions. We're going to try to work out how we can get mortgages to be more affordable to individuals. We know from our database that a lot of our clients qualify between 100 and 200,000, and regrettably, that is not enough to be able to get a mortgage at the current cost price of houses. So our mandate is wide when it comes to this respect, because the truth of the matter is that in order to build and build fast, you're going to need the mortgages to come in faster. The two are inextricably linked. So we are very aware of this situation, and we know that we have to reduce the times at which people can access mortgages, because this is a key element in building.
All right. I would like to add at this point that there are, for instance, we at Apex, if somebody's buying from us on our land, which would be in the development, we do what is called a 1090. So they don't have to provide financing for the complete process of the construction. We would take 10%, which would be normally the amount that they would deposit for the mortgage. We will build the house complete right through the finish, which is something that the banks like, because it is what you refer to as de-risking the mortgage. There's no risk. Because what often happens for people who are trying to do it on their own is that they go to somebody who gives them a cheap price, and they attempt to build this house, and then the body says the money has run out. And that puts the bank in an awkward position, because some money has gone and they don't have a product, a finished product, called a house, to be able to sell to recover the money that has been put out. So lawyers are also play a very integral part in getting this process speeded up, and you have to get them to work together as best as you can to get that whole process sorted, so that the homeowner can have a conveyance done quickly as the house is finishing. So that's what is important there.
And he's right there on the ball. The government of Barbados has made a determination that one of the issues with mortgages is that the legal fraternity, there's an excessive amount of time that is spent dealing with the mortgage. This government has put together consortiums where they are meeting to bring together the Bar Association with public, with private sector lawyers, to look at a way of cutting the time from 3 months to 3 weeks if possible. It is called a consortium, and I know that it is being developed very strongly by the Ministry of Housing at this present time. In fact, I believe another meeting is to come shortly to set goals and set time frames.
Is this something we may hear about again within the 2026, or is this a long term?
It's a land colloquium, and we've had, I believe it's 2 prior colloquiums before, and we have another one scheduled for this year very shortly. And as GM said, we bring together all of the stakeholders, where we will engage in the process with the goal of shortening mortgage times. What our role is in this process is that through the land registry department and the land adjudication department, we'll be looking at a process of registering the entire island, which will go a long way towards speeding up those mortgage times.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question is from Island Lee 98. Since housing has been a long-standing issue, when new projects begin, how are applications processed and prioritized? Mr. Gill?
Yes. Well, as you would have heard me say there, that's 6,100 plus 1,700. And it is dealt with based on the project. For instance, at Concordia Gardens, that's a middle income project. where houses are between 175 to 250. And so once you have that available mortgage, because as you know, some persons will gain in the social mortgage initiative, government still has to have a return on its funding so it can build more for the future. So therefore, the persons who have the mortgages at the time, and we go through it from the backlog, we pull from the backlog, we pull some from the front because there are young people too who want that opportunity, and there are a lot of young professionals who want that. And so we pull from the backlog, we pull from the front, and we come up with those persons who have the capacity and are able to get their mortgages and making those choices. Some persons will not get the opportunity, and when they need that opportunity, because it may only be 100 houses, but there are 6,100 people. So it's a concept where you have to be patient. There's no interfering with the system. There's a section called the Sales and Marketing section at the National Housing Corporation, and their job is that they go from the backlog, pull some from the backlog, pull some, so that everybody gets an opportunity to have ownership.
All right, Sharifa, I want to add to this because this is a very, very important question. I think that previously, regrettably, in the National Housing Corporation, there's been a big mystery over this list. And the truth is that we're going to demystify this list. What are we going to do? What we're going to do is come out of the Stone Ages. We have designs that are already done. So as the GM alluded to these designs, single homes, duplexes, quads, and we're going to put these things out there on a website, right? So people will know what the options are. We're engaging in a process of selecting the lands in which these homes, these different designs will be placed. So for instance, you will go to our website, you like the design of the duplex. If you're young and you don't really care too much about a lot of open space, you're a young professional, you're not home a lot, and you say, I want that, and I want it in this location, you will be able to have that option. So this is going to be a huge modernization project that the ministry will engage in with both NHC and HOPE, and that way people can select the type of homes that they want. And if you got a little piece of change, you can be able to put down on a particular house. So that's why I say we demystify the process. But I think part of the problem is that, you have this list at National Housing and nobody knows what's going on. I get it all the time. I mean, my phone number, I've had my phone number for 15 years, and it seems that everybody has it too. And I get all the messages and the calls asking me, I had an application in National Housing for 20 years. I had an application in National Housing for 12 years. I get it all the time. So I think a famous person said that if you engage in doing the same thing the same way, then you can't expect to get different results. So the truth of the matter is modernization, digitization, right? Putting it on a website. The truth is that we're not reinventing the wheel. This is done in the private sector, right? We just need to get National Housing to be able to come to the 21st century where this is concerned, and we will do it. So the Prime Minister calls it a menu, a buffet, right? When you go to a restaurant and you get your menu and you choose what you want, you can do the same thing too. So this product will be rolling out within the next month or so. So I know that Barbadians will look forward to that.
Okay, that sounds like good news. Our next question is from Queenie. Why do some people feel low-income housing developments are built to a different standard than middle-income housing? Is that a myth that you all heard before?
I am not sure exactly if the person is inquiring in relation to like wooden homes versus wall.
That may be it. They might think that
because
lower income is wooden.
Well, I think that this question is also embedded in the standards, because there's some people out there that may, if they're given a certain budget, right, they want to, make a little bit more for themselves, and then the quality of their work is not the greatest, especially when it comes to the lower income bracket. I remember, Sharifa, I told you earlier that we were going to have an eye on this by having the standards being strictly in place, right, so that they're the those, Mr. Niles, you know that this is out there, those contractors that try to skim and give people an inferior product, it cannot work. Not in this country.
Okay.
Yeah, no, bye.
Okay, our next question is from the GM World 246. Does the NHC still build houses on your own land?
Within recent times, a policy has come from government that we've started to work on building houses. The project is still in its conception. At least we have one person, a pilot project, and that will be in Pool Land in St. John, or Cherry Grove in St. John. So we are looking to see how we're using this pilot project to see how it works. The person buys the house, it's their land, and it will be constructed by Hope. So that is what we are working on. It's a slow process, but we are getting there. And I'm calling the area because I know the lady has been constantly bombarding my deputy general manager, so I'm letting her know that she's the main focus as the pilot project when we start a project. So once we do that, and we take out the kinks out of it, and we know how we are to go forward, then we will come to the public of Barbados.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Yeah. Our next question is from Romario Blackman, 8938. I'm a fire victim for 10 years and I got no response from governments. Minister, would you like to address?
Well, you know, I told you earlier about fires, and the fact is that the way we look at addressing this tremendous issue, and it's going to get worse, because with climate change, and when you see these bushfires, and they're very ominous, they keep coming closer and closer, encroaching on houses. We know what happens in California. In California, you know, the cat's already back there. You've got people moving from California, moving to Texas to get away from these fires. But no, it's a serious issue. I myself have had to deal with it as an MP. And the truth is that fires that have happened previously, like the Wellington Street fire in the city, the GM would tell you that when we constructed Solaris Court on White Park Road, that development was to be for units that were sold. But the truth is that after the Wellington Street fire, a lot of those victims were placed in Solaris and they never came out, which is what I told you earlier, Sharifa. We need to really look at our emergency housing policy and put that in place, one, but two, build the capacity for transitional housing, where you have a fire victim, you move into the transitional housing. That could be Chinese expandable, that could be the container houses, it could be derelict buildings that we develop just for that. And that's another point that we have to make. We have a lot of derelict housing and derelict buildings that we really need to bring back into the housing stock. That is how we make efficient use of our land. All those things that we're going to look at to provide a transitional housing, and then from transitional housing that will get you the time to get into a house. So that is what we are going to be engaging in for in a case like that. I'm very sorry to hear that. I know that sometimes it can be pretty frustrating. I get a report every week of the available units in the housing estates, and that's the only really place that I can really put some fire victims.
Do we have any advice that we can give Romario on his way forward? Sure,
I would like to know more information. So if Romario can come in, and this is what I'm trying to promote at National Housing as well, to have a more, personable approach. My door is certainly open to anybody. Sometimes people tell me, no, you can't do that. You gotta make sure that But no, people can come, and I would love for the Romario to come in and sit down so I can hear specifically what his issue is.
Okay, thank you for that. Our next question is from One Shorty. In these multi-story complexes, what fire escape measures are in place?
So that's a design question.
Yeah, very, very much a design question. In respect of the ones that we certainly do have, I know that there are escapes. At Valerie, there's the escape route from via the floors. So if something happens, you should be able to make your way down. And those areas have been done in such a way, just wall, so the fire as a firewall, So therefore, you should be able to get from the top to the bottom without any issue whatsoever.
Okay.
In the meantime, we know that should I say in our designs, in our future designs, I know that the chief planning officer, who's also the deputy general manager, said to me that we are looking at expanding these buildings to cover for areas where we can have, unlike the look of having external, on the external facade, these things is not a look that we think is suitable for Barbados. So we are looking at the internal and seeing how we can find ways internally to get you out. It is just like in some Caribbean countries, you see the 4-inch pipe on the outside. You don't see a 4-inch pipe anywhere in Barbados on the outside of a wall. It's always on the internal of the wall. So we do things differently throughout the Caribbean, and that's the way that we like to do it.
Sharifa, just to add to that, the truth is we can't really get away from doing some high rises. We know that in the urban area, we're gonna have to have a few in there. You know, we have some sites in the urban area that we're looking at right now, Cat's Castle, and other areas, Exmouth, Mason Hall Street. The same Wellington Street, which was the site of that devastating fire. We're currently looking at designs that do encompass multi-story. The truth is that Bridgetown is undergoing a transformation. You know, we have the Pierhead Development Project that has already started. We also have a few hotels that are going to be constructed in that area. We know that a city of any country is the heart. And, you know, if the body is to be healthy, the heart got to be healthy. So we need people back in the city. And we want young professionals as well. And I can tell you that it was the Prime Minister's vision. You know, her heart is in the city, my heart is in the city too. I'm a city man. My family's been in the city since 1919. And the truth is that the city can accommodate some high rises, that we can bring back some young professionals. We can do mixed use developments where we have commercial at the bottom, and then we have the floors are geared toward, marketed towards different types of people. We can do a couple of floors in social housing because we can't ignore those individuals that are from the city, but then we want to also cater to the doctors and the nurses. We know that the QEH is about to undergo additional capacity on the other side. And we know that a lot more young professionals will be there. And we want to be able to cater to that because we want to have restaurants, nightclubs, city life. We want that back in the city. And we think that obviously, you know, the Afra SM Bank, they're building their headquarters there. And so it will fit the area. And, you know, the land use, we know that how important that is, and we need to use it more efficiently in the city as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Our next question is from Diane Drakes. Can you expand a bit more on housing for the vulnerable? Would this include persons safeguarding themselves from domestic violence?
Yes.
To the point.
Yeah, our emergency housing policy, people who are fire victims, domestic violence victims as well. We will have a stock of transitional housing, cater to those individuals as well.
Okay.
What I do need to say though is that we need to reach that stage where we can provide those things. For instance, we have a 20-year program where once you've lived in a unit or standalone belonging to the National Housing Corporation for 20 years or more, that property is now being turned over to you. So we now have to start a fresh new wave of construction to make sure we can look after persons of such a nature, and not only of those persons, but for the future generations of this country. We have to build now.
Okay.
Right now.
When it comes to the vulnerable, I must add that we are going to be working with the One Family program. We have actually, GMA, you told me about one of our housing developments.
The housing development. I've had discussions with I think she's the director of One Family, Nicole and Daniel, and the project at Coconut Hall. We're going to be giving that but not giving that. We're working out a relationship with them where they're going to get all 10 units at Coconut Hall in St. Lucie.
Well, they'll get most of them. Don't upset the MP up there, Peter Phillips, too much. You know, he wants some of them too. But we will most certainly.
We will get some others too. He knows there's 17 more lots up there.
Okay, our next question is from Maria Boyce, 9596. When will the housing project in Haggett Hall start? I've been rented for 27 years and applied at housing for the same length of time. Thanks for your question, Maria.
I think she's speaking about Lower Burney.
Yeah, she's speaking about Lower Burney.
So Lower Burney is a project is 40 acres.
Yes.
So we were talking about that today in a housing meeting with the Prime Minister. And the truth of the matter is that we are engaging in finalizing the sites and services. And we are hopeful to start that project soon. This is a project that a lot of people have been asking about. We do know that it is a project that will offer relief to the Pine area. We know that the Pine area is very dense, and the Deputy Prime Minister is very passionate about this project because housing and crime have a very strong link. And the truth is that it really does give us perspective on how important it is for us to offer additional capacity of housing so that we can offload the areas that are really dense, that have encountered urban sprawl. And Lower Burney is a project that is to help with that situation. So we are working feverishly to be able to start that project.
Okay. Thanks for that response. Next question is from Katrina Thomas. Good night. I would like to know if the houses at Brighton St. George are sold out. Thanks for your question, Katrina.
Katrina, what I will say to you, sold out is not the right term, but they have been all allocated. Okay. Because we have not started to receive the funds yet. But they've all been allocated and the persons are bringing in their mortgages and so on for them. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, our next question from Richelle Hines, 801. What happened to the policy that was spoken about a few years ago where land can be used as collateral to gain a mortgage? Mr. Gill?
I am not aware.
You're not aware of that?
That's not an internal policy.
That is a private sector matter.
Oh,
okay, all right, yeah.
And it definitely can be used.
Of course.
Land can be used. Land is good collateral.
That's right.
And it is normal that it can act as a deposit on the mortgage. What I would like to say to the public is that from early, get in the habit of identifying with your finance facility what you qualify for so that you are aware where you are in relation to your ability to secure a home. We can't let everybody be waiting on government to provide. It's difficult. And it's the responsibility of every man to provide for his house. So we should be looking at identifying what we can afford so we know. And if we have to work harder to earn more so we can do better, then that is what our obligation is.
Okay.
Agreed. And I want to add to that because this is what it's about. This government in this term, third term, is about empowering our people with home ownership. And that can come in the form, as the GM said, in terms of transferring title, as we've been doing since March 31st. Mm-hmm. We have transferred 204 Title II persons within the estates all over Barbados. And then we're going to do an additional 225 in future bill coming very, very soon under what we call the vesting bill. And this is very important, as Mr. Niles said, whether it's land, whether it's your unit in the terrace units, you know, this is all about ownership. Wow. And ownership can empower you to do a lot of things with your life. And that's what it has to be about. Yeah, we know that we have to grow the economy so that we can do more for our citizens, and that is our burden as well in housing, as the Prime Minister says, that, you know, we need you to build more houses because that's going to help the economy to grow. But in addition to that, it will also have the benefit of empowering our citizens. And that is something that we take very seriously as a government.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, our final question is from Sweet P. Who can we contact at the NHC to follow up on our applications?
I think I know Sweet Pea.
Well, there's a contact center, and the number there is, well, to the supervisors, 536-5424, and she'll pass you on to, there's a whole contact center team who we can question on applications, where your application is, can you bring it up, if it needs to be updated, and that is one of the things that the contact center has been doing. We've been updating people, as you said, people have been in there now for 10, in some cases more than a decade. So therefore, we are updating applications as you call. So that number is 536-5424. But outside of that, our website is, we've been doing internal work with our website. We've been testing it internally. There are some persons outside, for some reason they've been able to set it up that it's working in certain areas of Barbados. So some people are already beginning to do applications and so on, and that is the way we did it, because we wanted to make sure it was working before we launch it. I'm not the person with all the technology skills, so I don't know how they do it. But it's not throughout Barbados, but it's in certain areas, and people have been coming in with applications and so on. So therefore, we are looking to launch very shortly, but as the minister said earlier, we are looking at we can use websites, both Hope, ourselves, and we're going to be working very closely with Hope, because Hope is our sister organization out through the Ministry of Housing, and it is our intention to make sure that we can put up all the designs. That is, we've been mandated to do that, to where we now have to put up designs and so on, so you can call and you can choose what you're designing. I like this design and so on, and we can show you the process of going through the mortgage. We are to sit down with the financial institutions again very shortly to have discussions with them in respect of the way that we go forward. And we have to do that because the whole concept, as I said, of the NHC has changed, and we have to reach the public in a different way, and digitalization is going to be our way. Digitalization has to be our way. We cannot continue to work the old way. It's a lot of pressure on the senior management, but we know we have to get it done. But we have a good team in place, and we have a good board in place. So we're looking forward to seeing some successful things. So you can call the contact center. It was set up for that purpose, and you can ask whatever information you want from there.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I would like to get brief thoughts from each of you on the future of affordable housing in Barbados, starting with you, Mr. Niles.
I think that affordable housing is absolutely needed in view of reaching the more vulnerable of the society. Ownership is far better than everybody having to fall back into rental. As was said, the minister said, ownership empowers, gives you a feeling of being part of the country, and therefore we would all be incentivized to identify what techniques, methods, whatever can be used to find suitable fits for that budget range. We certainly are.
Definitely. Okay. Mr. Gill.
The realism of it all is that rent is dead money. So you have to, you take in that money, and rent continues to rise, as we said in this meeting. The opportunity of being able to take that rent to pay for something that you will eventually own is a process that we need to move towards. That is what is affordable for you. So if it is $800 per month, $1,000 per month, that you're paying it now, and that is affordable for you. But you should use that to own your own home, and that is the direction that you should be looking to move towards. We want to be able to give people affordable housing. The whole concept of new technologies is the reason why we are doing it. The whole idea of the artisan system, that will provide for people, and there are people who will not move away from that. There are people who love wall buildings, and they will not move away from that. That is what they know, and that is what they like. But then there are those who will want to try new technologies because it is cheaper, it is more affordable, and one of the things I love about it, it is less wastage on the economy.
Okay, thank you. Minister, save any best for last?
Well, a house is more than just a shelter. It is a source of dignity. It is, as Mr. Niles said, an asset that can be used in other financial transactions. But housing is so much more. It means so much more to our citizens, especially those that come from the lower income bracket. It is a way of them uplifting their circumstances. We know that a lot of our citizens in my constituency, in the city of Bridgetown, the St. Michael area, all around Barbados, that there is a link between the frustrations that our citizens encounter in their daily lives and their housing situation. And practically, I deal with it as an MP every day. There's a lot of conflict that happens in less than ideal housing situations. So I take this very seriously to be able to offer affordable homes to those individuals. And as Mr. Niles said, this will help to empower them and uplift them. And you know, whenever we go to look at, because not only are we responsible for building, but we facilitate the private sector as well. And when we go to private sector projects, we tell them, well, you know, you have to include this amount of affordable homes in your mix, you know, and make the bedrooms a little bigger, right? Put on a porch. We want our citizens to stretch the legs, right? Get the country breeze coming across. And this is very important for the dignity of our citizens. So the truth of the matter is we are very invested in this. I am certainly very excited to be a part of it. I think that the future is bright. And we know that any development that we go into, we have to have that's what I call the sweet spot, a certain amount of affordable homes for those who we know not only just want them, but need them.
Thank you for that. Definitely a very powerful closing statement from the Minister. Now we've come to the end of another edition of In Focus. Tonight's discussion highlighted the importance of ensuring that all Barbadians have access to affordable and adequate housing. We examined the realities of today's housing market, the pressures affecting rental prices, and the initiatives being undertaken to expand housing opportunities across the island. I would like to thank our panelists for sharing their perspectives and expertise. And a special thank you, too, to everyone who submitted questions and comments through our social media platforms. We still have many more questions to respond to, but we are going to forward them to the Minister and the General Manager of the National Housing Corporation that they can respond to you directly. Your participation is what makes these discussions meaningful and relevant, so we thank you. If you missed any part of tonight's program, you can watch the full discussion on the BGIS Facebook page and YouTube channel. And follow BGIS Conversations on Instagram for highlights. I am Sharifa Medford-Gilkes, and this is In Focus.